had the opportunity to lead in Park Heights, neighborhood in which I grew up in, South Baltimore, Memphis, Delaware, and post-Katrina New Orleans. And in every classroom that I've touched, I have a former student here who will attest to it, I have shared 2 poems with my students on the first day. Only Just a Minute and Invictus. Because I thought the words of those poems were what they needed to make them value time. Only Just a Minute ends with, I have only just a minute, but eternity is in it. And Invictus ends with, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. That was what they needed to build resilience, because, that's what you need to make it out the hood. I was sure of that. I did it. So, funny thing is, those babies taught me so much more about resilience than I could have ever taught them. For example, there was Pete, who refused to drop out and get a GED, even though he was 16 in the 8th grade. There was Tasha, who showed up to school every day, well-dressed, well-kept, put together, cute and confident and kind, despite all of the travesty and drama and just trauma that she faced on a daily basis at home. And then there was Simon, who just a year or 2 before had watched his mother get shot in the head and bleed out on the sidewalk in front of his home. Just a few short months before he spent 3 days on a rooftop after the levees broke. So what was I going to teach them about resilience? But I thought, I had the key. Master keys. I'm dropping master keys. But those babies. Simon, some kids you just know that they have it. And Simon had it. And he had it like, I'm talking soul glow, show enough kind of it. He didn't even know. We knew though, because we could see it. Not just me. I'm not the only person who saw his it factor. Everyone saw his it factor because it was crystal clear. The kids saw it, the adults saw it, and they wanted to be a part of it. So he wielded this power, and we knew really early that he wielded this power. But in the beginning of the year, you want to give them a chance. See just what they're going to do, how they're going to be, who they're going to show themselves to be as we learn our babies. And so we watched. And in the summer when he showed up, just like most of my kids, they were only coming for 30 minutes so we could get their reading assessments done and know what groups they were going to be in. He was dirty. It was the summer. He was running in the street, playing football in the street. Shoes looking like he was kicking rocks, because he was kicking rocks. So, we thought nothing of that. Showed up to school. All right, he was clean, put together, uniform was straight, cornrows were tight. All right, I ain't got to worry about that one. He's good. And then as time went on, and you start to see him day in and day out in the same uniform shirt, with the same stain that you saw him get in the lunchroom. Those kinds of stains they're not the stains that come when you can't get it out in the wash. Those stains. The OxyClean don't even clean. Those kind of stains. No, these were the stains that no one had even tried to get the stain out kind of stains. So because we were a uniform school, we know our population was quite diverse from all over the city of New Orleans, post-Katrina New Orleans. So we had extra uniforms. So I pulled him in the office. Simon, here, how many uniforms do you have? 2? Well, 1 really because the other shirt got torn when we was playing football. We got a couple problems. So we're going to talk about a couple things. But take these uniforms home. We're going to wash these, and we're going to get this rotation rolling. We had a washer and dryer in our building because, again, we knew what population we were dealing with. And so as he became more comfortable with me, he shared more with me. And that's how I knew about the trauma that he'd experienced during Katrina and prior to Katrina. He was in my reading group. So every morning we start our, dear, that, drop everything and read for those of you who aren't familiar. So he comes in my reading group, and nobody disrupts my class. Period, point blank, never, ever, ever, not happening. So when he came in, and he, instead of came in late, which meant he walked to school, because if you didn't catch the bus, it wasn't coming back for you. So he walked to school, came in late, and he interrupted me. And I literally give him that look. It's like, he whispers, can can I get something? Can I get breakfast from the closet? You late and you ain't eat? My ignorance. You late and you ain't eat? Wasn't nothing there to eat. Grab it, sit in the hallway, eat, come back and join your group. Because time is of the essence, right? Growth and maturity in my process. Judge me not. So, so he ate, he came back, and then I'm noticing, as I'm working with my groups, a little smelly. He smelled the urine. And you would think that a child who is unkept, who is smelling like urine, who doesn't have things at home, who has had a life of trauma, might act out in some way or another. He didn't. That wasn't who he was. He also didn't drop his head, ever. He walked around with such confidence and humility at the same time that it was like awe-inspiring. This kid was amazing. He still is amazing. I'm gonna tell y'all about who he is now in a little bit. But this kid was amazing. And so you couldn't help but be drawn to him and want to rally around him whenever it looked like he might need a little bit because you knew he had it. You knew he had it. And what I'm not gonna do is not let that potential maximize. That's what I'm not gonna do, because that in itself would be a disservice. And if I'm gonna just not try and help you, then why am I even here, right? So, and we all felt that way. So we rallied around him in times of struggle and strife. And he was able to build relationships because he was humble. So he didn't need for us to beg him to come for extra lessons, because he knew he read that he was 3 grade levels behind. He knew that. He knew that he couldn't read. It didn't stop him from reading out loud in class. Nope. He talked with a stutter. Didn't stop him from reading out loud in class. And because he had it, the kids never came for him. Never. Not once. In the 3 years that I spent with him in that building, did a kid come for him because of his academic struggles. Because he had it. And in all that having itness, it just all the way always amazed me and still amazes me how he lived with that humility. I mean, his confidence was real. I mean, he walked around and talked with the confidence of a mediocre white boy. But this child, I mean, he had it. And so it was into the year we start seeing, changes in his personality into his seventh grade year. Seventh graders, they think they grown. So you had to help humble them and bring them back. His grandmother was at the point where she couldn't care for him in the way that he needed to be cared for. His brother had gotten into some trouble, and so he was locked up. And so we saw a different Simon. And so it was one day after school, and my team was super duper tight. I was AP at the time. We all meet in the principal's office after the buses leave and talk about whatever, cracking jokes, all those good things. And so one day, everybody was like, yo, what's up with your boy? It's like, all right, so this is what we're gonna do. Let's get this plan rocking. So we call the service provider, get them wraparound services wrapped, and we go in and we see just how bad the situation is. Just how bad the situation is. I mean, the house is one step from needing to be condemned. And it's just not where anyone should be. So, long story short, take that, we are able to move him out of that situation. My principal actually took guardianship over him. He actually had the great opportunity to go to one of the most prestigious private schools in New Orleans. And he is now a junior football player at a Big Ten school. And he's killing the game. He is on track to graduate next year. And so, I'm trying to figure out how you did it. Like, how'd you make it? How'd you make it? What was it? So I asked, because I ask questions. And so I asked, and he said, and this was amidst the suicide of one of his former classmates and another murder of one of his other classmates, and we were all gathered together in New Orleans. And he said, y'all, I knew that I could count on y'all. And that's so amazing. That's so amazing, not only for the child to be able to verbalize it, but it's an amazing feeling, for real. Like, sometimes we never know how our work impacts their real lives. Not just their, elementary lives, middle school lives, or at whichever point we teach them, but their real lives, like forever lives. And so it's always awesome when you can see or hear firsthand how they knew that they could trust you. They knew that they could come to you. And that, for me, is a bigger deal of resilience, a bigger story of resilience than anything. For when I think of resilience now, and I don't think of the Webster definition of flexibility or elasticity, being able to bounce back, because it's more than that. Resilience is about relationships, because it's through those relationships that you are actually able to build those bonds that help them be resilient, help them know that they can do. When you're dealing with a population of students who have been traumatized, relationships are everything. So if you don't know now, you know. Relationships are everything. Yeah, they should do just because they want to. However, that's not real life. And it's those relationships that allowed me to see the resiliency in him, but also the resiliency in the relationships also benefit me a great deal and help me to understand what I need to do as an educator in a different role at this point. So just keep that in mind in your work. Resilience and relationships go hand in hand.